Alright, so now we're finally getting into the hooking the big baler up to the JCB project. Later than I wanted it to be, so I'm not a little rushed on it, but not too bad yet. So we got it hooked up yesterday. We had to get a hammer strap for the JCB. Got that hooked up. The hydraulic hoses for the last baler jack were fine. My lights work on the baler. The problem is the pickup head hose is too short, which it runs back to this T right here, so I can't, and then that runs through a square tube. There's two cylinders on the pickup head. It's just to raise it up and then it floats back down with one hose. So I need to get a hose made for the pickup head, and that's not too much of a biggie. The biggest thing I got is wiring the tractor, which it rained. We're still planting corn. I went and worked ground this morning. It's too wet. I got in the wet hole and it just said, the heck with this, I'll go work on the tractor instead today, leave it dry out a little more. So basically, when I got the baler, the 14 was the only tractor I had that could run it. So I kind of had to figure out, how do I get all these electronics into the 14? And what I came up with worked really good, so I'm going to do the same thing on the JCB. So just to show you what I did in here and show you how I'm going to go about switching it between the two. But so what it is, I ran the line up into a circuit breaker. Circuit breaker's right there. Whenever I go to use the baler or anything, you turn it on and then that powers everything. But then with the circuit breaker, you can kick it out and you don't have to worry about having juice going in at anything. Circuit breaker then powers this fuse box, and then the fuse box makes it where you have nice negatives and positives that are fused. So it's real easy to hook anything else onto it. Whenever I wired it into this tractor, before we already had a hotline for the chopper box, and then this is a fuel pump switch for the auxiliary, or the extra fuel tank to pump the fuel. But so to power the baler, it's just the regular 3-prong connector, which these older tractors don't have that. So I knew I needed that for the baler. So, and it has the acid pump on it as well. So I was like, okay, I need to turn the pump on. I need to be able to hook a baler up. Well, that's easy. And then once I got the pump running, I realized, wait, how do you adjust how much acid you're putting on? And then I did more research into the Harvest Tech applicator, and it did not come with, I guess it was missing. I called where I bought the baler and they did not have it. So anyhow, it's a variable speed pump on the Harvest Tech applicator. So that's, I then bought this, which is the variable speed, and then there's a dial. There was not room for it in my box that I had. It was like an add-on. So that needs to go with the baler, which is an issue because I want to leave the plug in this tractor. So my plan is to make 2 little boxes with, I got a plug for it in the JCB. I'll just use like a box like this for the JCB. And then this I'm hoping to put on a piece of flat iron and mount off of this so that it's the switches in here. That way when I go between tractors, I'll unbolt this. It'll be the switch for the acid pump, the computer for the baler, my moisture sensor, and this is my rear view camera for watching the bales come out of the chute. So I have 4 things that I need to power, that need power when I switch between. So I'm gonna end up making a plug for this, which is just gonna be the regular 2-prong plug like I have for it to plug in the baler. I have an extra one of those already. So that's, I'm gonna plug it there and then it'll plug to the baler. That plug, like I said, I'm gonna put in the JCB. So then I have this plug for the moisture tester that I'm gonna wire in, and then there is the plug for the video feed. So I need, there's 4 plugs. Yeah, so this is just what I had to do more for the baler. It's a regular equipment plug. The 1466s didn't have this. And then I just wired it up that whenever I flick that switch, I stole a relay out of the old Ford Explorer car we had. And it's just a blinker. And so if I'd be going down the road, I'd kick that on, and then the flashers on the baler, and then there's work lights on the back of the baler, kick that on, and I have my work lights on the back of the baler. So I got on Amazon a couple weeks ago and got everything ordered. Here's my new circuit breaker for this. There's a fuse panel. So then I'm going to start with wiring those 2 up. Then I have my 3-prong plug for the baler. I got, this is the worst thing on Amazon, to get one of these plugs, you can't just buy one. I have like a 10-pack of them. So hopefully I can find other uses for them, but there's still, it was $6 for 10 of those. I only needed this for the moisture tester, and it was a 2-pack, male and female. So this is for the, so that'll be for the baler. This is for the video. This is for the moisture tester, and I guess right here's the plug for the, well, I have more too, somewhere. But yeah, I have all kinds of leftover stuff from hooking the baler up. There's my switches. But yeah, so I'll find that sometime here. I do know, I did check it, I have them. So right now, I need to get these started, mounted in first. It seems like it's gonna be pretty easy for me in here. So the battery box is inside the tractor. Underneath your control panel, there's a nice flat spot beside the seat. So I'm gonna set that close so that I can just reach down and grab it. And I'm gonna set this over here. I'm gonna drill a hole through, put a cable connector or something so the wires don't get rubbed coming through. I need to make this a little neater. The guy that we bought the tractor off just put inline fuses. He added on a air conditioning unit, which is up there in the ceiling. And there's a big box on top of the tractor, but it's nice. It keeps you nice and cool. And then there's a fuse here for this, which is a oil pressure, oil temperature shut off. Whenever the pressure's too low on the oil or the temperature gets too high, it kicks this out, shutting off a solenoid right there for the fuel, and it'll shut the tractor down if you run out of oil. He had a problem with another tractor and decided that's what he wanted. He ended up burning a motor up. I guess he had a generator or something like that, and the oil line got a leak and he burned a motor up. So all his tractors got that in it now. I call it my anti-theft thing, because if you start it and you don't push that button, and your tractor's not going anywhere in about a minute when it runs out of fuel. So I'm gonna start mounting these, and then I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so we got the circuit breaker and the fuse box mounted. Right here, I'm gonna drill a hole where I got that circle, put a cable connector there so I can run my wires out through from the batteries. Now I got the cable connector secure in there. I ended up going a little higher with it than what I was figuring. Put that in just to protect the wires coming through instead of having sharp steel. So now I'm gonna run a hot wire from there over to my circuit breaker, and then I would go from the circuit breaker down to the bottom of the fuse panel, and then I need to run a negative out of there over to the negative pole on the fuse panel. So I got all my hot and negative heavy lines going to the fuse block and the circuit breaker made up. I I use the heat shrink. Well, they're crimp and heat shrink. It seems like a heat shrink keeps it from ever letting them work loose. It's not really for the weatherproofing of it because they're not going to get wet inside the cab, but I just think they do a really nice job and look neat. So I'm going to shrink these all up and then I'll hook the fuse panel and circuit breaker up, and then I need to start running my other lines and figuring out where I'm going to mount my monitor in the cab of the JCB. Alright, so we figured out how to mount the monitor in this tractor. The original thought was to put flat plate on this door handle, and it just wasn't anything to mount to on the control panel because everything's all plastic. So what I ended up doing is getting some light angle, and then it's not ideal, but every time we try and get to the batteries that we got to take the pole off for the monitor, but it worked. So yeah, I just welded that on, and then that's all on top of there, good and sturdy. The only thing I can see that I might end up doing is putting bolts in instead of these little finger tight things, but they seem to draw in tight, so I'm just running with that for now. So the last thing we're got to figure out that I kind of got into a little bit already is the baler, the acid control pump. Before I had that just screwed to the fender of the 14. Now that I got my plug out of that box, there's enough room to fit it in there. So I'm trying to make that work, that I can have it. Just gonna put, like I said, the plug on the end, so then this will get plugged in between the fuse box and that, and then you'll plug it in the baler. But right now what I'm hoping on that is that I can mount it more right here so I can grab it quick, have everything, check on the baler there, and then just have a acid switch. Before in the 14, where it was sitting, I figured I'd run the acid switch like that, and that worked good. Just trying to make it that the only thing I have to undo is that one bolt. You can bolt on the fender or bolt on that piece of hang wire in this tractor. So right now I'm running to Lowe's to get 2 boxes, because now since I took the acid pump switch box out, now both tractors I need to have a box for the power cord. So that's what we're gonna work on. Got back from Lowe's, went for these boxes, and those are where I'm putting the power plugs in, and they're going to be one in each tractor, and that's what plugs my baler into. And then the acid pump box, when I was looking for that, I found that they make bigger square boxes, bigger than the 4-inch. This was the 4-inch, and that's that box. So I have plenty of room to put the variable speed box inside of that, make it nice and neat. I drilled the hole for the switch and the speed dial and the cover plate for that. They only had one with a knockout in it, but no big deal. So we're gonna let this paint dry and then start wiring all that stuff up. Getting everything put together now. This box, there's plenty of room for the variable speed. Got the switch on that. Just need to wire a plug onto the hot and negative. So that's what those are going to be for. This is for the 12-volt outlet. My baler only uses the left side. From what I understand on these is, like in your newer tractors that have them installed, the ones on a fuse and the red lines normally runs off your key and it shuts the power off. What I did on the last time is I just wrapped a red line in the box and figured if I ever have anything else that needs it, I can wire it in then. So that's exactly what I'm going to do with these two boxes for the JCB and the 14. So yeah, it worked good the last time. I just get these boxes at Lowe's with the big knockouts, and then it fits right in, and I use self-tapping screws, hold it together. The first time I did on that other box, I put 4 in, but I think that's just a waste of time. You don't need that many. And then I'll just mount this in the tractor, and it gives a nice sturdy place for the plug in there. So yeah, now I'm gonna get that one mounted in the JCB, mounted in the 14, and then I'm gonna get this on the monitor and get that plug. Okay, so we got the 14 wired back together be able to switch it back over. We're gonna take a test light and check, make sure all the power. So this will power the monitor for the baler. We're good. This powers the moisture tester. That's good. This will power the video camera. It's good. And then this is what I came up with to power the acid switch. And just plug that in. And that's good. So we got all 4 plugs ready to go. So anytime I want to switch tractors, I just bolt it in there and plug the plugs in, and it's the same as it was. Just switch the green box out for this. All right, I'm going to show you guys these couplers. They're a heat solder coupler. So we're wiring the plug onto these wires for the acid. But anyhow, the way I just stick these in here, and then I twist the wires so they mesh in together. And then you put the solder band, and here, watch this. The heat gun just shrinks that. It's a heat shrink, but then it also melts that solder. Okay, so we got her wired up now. Kind of get back in here. The top green one there, that goes down to the plug for the baler. And the yellow one's my acid pump. Second one's the plug for the moisture sensor. Third one's the plug here for the video. So kind of same as the 14, I just got the plug for the moisture tester, plug for the video, and then the plug for the pump for the acid. So I can just unhook all that, undo the bolt, and take it. I had the most trouble. The baler was, well, set up for the 14. The monitor sits back above the axle, where the JCB, you can see how much further ahead it is. So, which I had trouble with the hydraulic hose. I also had trouble. These weren't quite long enough, but luckily I could pick up the slack back through there, and then that was fine. I gotta zip tie those yet. So the moment of truth now, we're gonna go in and see if this all works. I got all hooked up. Okay, so we got power on. That worked. There, the video came on right away. Moisture tester's on. Baler monitor works. I can't hear that. We'll go back. See if that's running. That is not running. There it goes. There it goes. One of those plugs is loose. Okay. Everything works. There you can see the bales from last year. So this monitor works pretty cool. It actually, you set your plunger force there in the center, and then when you start baling, the two lines will come up, and once it hits your targeted pressure, it adjusts your pressure for the force on the plunger. And then the video I added that last year, I couldn't stand it. You never knew what your bales looked like till you got to the end of the field and turned around and you're coming back the next row. Or you got, end row and you had to back up. You didn't know if the bale was out or in. And I'd back into bales. So yeah, I'm happy with everything. It should work out pretty good for me.